Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. And a very happy Bhaiya Dooj to everybody, a beautiful celebration of family. Starting as always with one of our questions that comes in advance from our online audience. We'll then open it up to any questions that any of you have. So there's microphones here, so if you have any question after we take the first one, just raise your hand and you can come up to the mic and ask your question. How to find forgiveness for people who have caused you so much pain. And this was asked by our family member Dunn via Instagram. We've all been hurt. If we went around and we went row by row by row by row, and we went around every single one of you, except maybe the little ones. But otherwise, anyone here who's lived more than a couple of decades has been hurt in some way. Intentionally, unintentionally, knowingly, unknowingly, by someone. We all hold on to that pain. And the only way out of the pain is letting go of the anger, which comes through forgiveness. The biggest misconception around forgiveness and the thing that keeps us from being able to forgive is this myth that somehow forgiveness equals condoning what somebody did. So if you hurt me and I forgive you, we think that means that I'm somehow saying, directly or indirectly, it's okay. Don't worry. No problem. That is not what forgiveness says. I will repeat that because it's really important. That is not what forgiveness says. Forgiveness does not say what you did is okay. It doesn't say no problem. What forgiveness says is, whatever you did to me, however mean, painful, destructive, however it must have been for me, I still deserve peace, and I still deserve freedom, and I still deserve joy. There is nothing that someone else can do to us that takes away our birthright for freedom, for joy, for peace. The dilemma is the lack of forgiveness is actually what steals all of those things from us. So we forgive simply for one reason and one reason only, to reclaim our birthright to freedom, peace, and joy. We forgive for ourselves. People say, well, he doesn't deserve forgiveness, or she doesn't deserve forgiveness. But that has nothing to do with it. Maybe not. But you're not forgiving for them. You're not judge and jury. You're not the karmic police. You're not deciding what that person deserves. It's an entirely separate issue altogether. It has nothing to do with forgiveness. And that's where we all get stuck. Because we think, well, they don't deserve it. Okay. Let's assume they don't deserve it. Nonetheless, that has nothing to do with you deserving peace and joy and freedom. And our forgiveness is so that we can live in that freedom and joy and peace. So the way that we find the ability to forgive is through being really tired of being in pain. The day that you get up out of bed and you say, I am tired of this nonsense, I'm tired of thinking less of who I am based on what someone else did. I'm tired of self-sabotaging. I'm tired of being chained. The moment you decide that, that is when you start forgiving. And that is what leads you to forgive. It's not the person begs your forgiveness and so eventually you forgive. Or it's not that enough time passes and finally you decide, okay, cello, enough time has passed. You forgive the moment you decide you are tired of being stuck. You're tired of having your today hooked in to what that person did to you however long ago they did. Joy in this moment is directly connected to and a direct result of your actions days, weeks, months, years, or decades ago. That is when you forgive, so that you can be free. And that's all it takes, is the deep awareness. I'm not judge and jury. I'm not the karmic police. What they get that's coming to them has nothing to do with me. Thankfully. If God taps on your shoulder and say, hey, could you, then you're in a different situation. But until that happens, until you get that cosmic tap on the shoulder that says, hey, could you make a note of this? Make sure you don't forget. Until that time, you can be pretty sure it's not up to you. It's not your job. They will get whatever their karmic due is. Our job is one thing and one thing only, our own freedom. And so that's why we forgive. When we finally feel so stuck that I need to get out of here, I'm prepared to do whatever necessary to get out of the jail that my mind has become, to get out of the jail that my heart has become. I'm tired of not being able to trust. I'm tired of not being able to love. That's the moment that we forgive. And that becomes the way we forgive. Because once you're committed to it, then it's really just a matter of letting it go. It's the fact that we don't actually want to forgive that makes us keep holding on. Once you really want to forgive, then you just give it back to the universe. And you let it go. And I say this to you as someone who has done this. I've seen this in my own life. And I've seen it in the life of so many people. So anybody who thinks easier said than done, just know that I'm speaking from a position of not just saying, but also having done. And having forgiven some pretty terrible things. But the minute that you realize that it's that grudge that keeps you stuck, suddenly we have all of the power in the world to be able to let go. Any questions? Yes, of course, please.
Srinade, hi. So there are two things. First, I've come from Vrindavan only to meet you. And I really liked. That's first. And second, most of the questions have been answered listening to you over the number of years and months, you know. One thing that I still have a doubt is about the astral travel.
About the?
Astral travel. So I know a few people who have experience, not me personally, but like you have an astral body and you travel, especially using the Vishuddhi chakra, and you like have a community. And I know someone personally who's been scarred and damaged because of the astral travel, like the person has been abused astrally. Is that possible?
Are there other planes of existence? Absolutely. It would be foolish for us, even if we've never experienced them, to assume that we are the only plane of existence. I know there's definitely astral planes. In astral planes, people travel, they visit, there's others, absolutely. Because the astral planes are not populated 100% by enlightened beings in the same way that the earthly plane is not populated entirely by enlightened beings. Now, we have more of them on the astral plane. It tends to be more of a place also where the, divine beings, when we speak about the devtas, for example, a plane on which they may live, a plane on which powers exist. Could someone be energetically harmed? Sure. I'll tell you, it's not something I've ever heard of, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. But that doesn't mean that they can't be fixed and helped. I mean, in the same way that on the physical plane, you could be injured, somebody could hurt you, and you heal. Well, in the same way on the astral plane, sure, again, it could happen. Not on a physical level. Nobody's going to hurt you physically on the astral plane because the physical body isn't there. But could they hurt you energetically? Sure. But they can heal. And here's what I've seen. On all planes, whether we're looking at physical planes, whether we're looking at astral planes, whether we're looking at physical body, whether we're looking at energetic body, whether we're looking at mental body, subtle bodies, all of these levels, whether you're looking at different energies in the world, divine energies, demonic energies, all of the different ways that people play with, work with different energies in different planes. One thing I have learned about all of that is that one thing and one thing for sure protects you on every plane and can heal you on every plane. And that is God's grace. That's a connection with the divine. There's no plane of existence in which a connection with the divine doesn't help. It's like there's no schoolyard bully in the world who's going to be able to stand up at all when your dad actually walks you onto the playground. Like that bully may be the biggest bully of the 6-year-olds on the playground, But when your dad shows up or the school principal shows up on your arm to the playground, the schoolyard bully is nowhere. And so, in the same way, rather than getting stuck on all of the different layers and levels that are not ultimately the place where we're trying to go, focus more on that place we are trying to go, which is the union with God. I mean, moving around, visiting on the astral planes is really just like a level above moving around on this plane of existence. In either case, you're stuck with the story that you're telling yourself about your body on this plane. So on the physical plane, I'm telling myself a story about I am this, and here's my history, and here's this, and here's that. And on the astral plane, I'm telling myself a story about my astral body and where I'm going and who I'm meeting and who I'm connecting with. And on some cases, it's a very beneficial plane. You know, I know people who connect with beings who help them. Beings not in bodies who help them on the astral planes, on all these different planes of existence. Beautiful. But you don't want to get stuck there any more than you want to get stuck on this plane. And so if someone's been hurt there, I would give you the exact same advice that I would give if you were hurt here, which is recognize that it's not you. Forgive. Call upon the divine presence of God, whatever that means to you, to heal you, to allow you to forgive, and to protect you and to be with you. It's like if I carry a lantern that has an infinite source of oil, or I carry a huge flashlight that's got a battery that will never die, it doesn't matter how dark the places are that you may take me or how much darkness you may try to flood me with. If I've got light, there's nothing that any darkness can do to me. And so that plane, the astral plane, like this plane, like other planes, are places in which really what our ultimate goal is should be the same, which is how do I let go of this story, this narrative, this attachment, and how do I realize that ultimately at the core, not only can I travel as a disembodied being, but actually on a deeper level, I'm soul. I'm inseparable from the divine. And when we call in that divine energy, all of the ways that we've been hurt, we heal. Yeah. Other questions? Yes. Come forward. Either one. This one's closer, probably.
First of all, I want to thank you for creating this beautiful environment. Thank you. And my question is, in meditation, when we are aware of our sensations, feelings, and emotions, who or what is aware of it? Thank you.
Beautiful. Who is aware of awareness? Well, that you could say is your true self. One of the ways when we speak about sort of who are we really that I'll share is just that experiential level of first you're aware and then you realize I'm aware that I'm aware. So if I had to define that being, I would say your highest, truest self. That part of you that is not the emotion, that part of you that is not the feeling state, that is not the sensation. It's pure awareness, which when it is, for me, the felt sense experience is I take a step back. So when it's back enough, and if for you it feels like higher or deeper, either way is fine, it doesn't matter. I just know on a personal level for me, it feels like I step back. And if you step back enough, that pure awareness merges into just consciousness. So in the beginning, you're actually aware of something. I am aware that there is anger. I am aware that I am aware there's anger. And you keep going back until ultimately it's no longer about the awareness. It's no longer about the objects that I am aware of. It is just a state. It becomes like the screen in a movie theater onto which things are projected. But the screen is not impacted by or affected by in any way that which is being projected on it. It's not even changed by them. The screen itself is not changed by what's being projected. We who are sitting in the audience, it looks like something is happening on the screen. But if you actually get right up at the screen itself, you've got a little magnifying glass and you're a centimeter from the screen, it looks exactly the way that it did before you turned on the projector. Screen hasn't changed at all. And so ultimately it's about, you can think of it as consciousness, onto which things are projected. First, on the deepest level, awareness is projected. I am aware of this, aware of that. And then, of course, as we get shallower and shallower, we get actually caught up in the stories. So I'm aware of anger, and then I'm angry. That's when we really are the actor in the story. Forget the screen. We're stuck in the drama. But the goal is to essentially identify as the screen. We are subject, onto which, and it's not a perfect analogy because the screen, of course, is neither conscious nor aware. There's no prawn in it. There's no life in it. We are vibrant. We are full of life, full of prana, full of consciousness. But that's the aspect. So the you who is aware is your highest, deepest, truest, eternal self. And when you take even a step back from the you who is aware, that's when you merge into just that actual consciousness. Awareness is still aware of something. And by the way, those semantic distinctions are purely mine. I don't claim that that's by any dictionary definition the distinction between awareness and consciousness. I know a lot of people use it synonymously. For me, awareness is much more focused than consciousness. We are aware of something. It's directed, it's more intentional. Whereas consciousness just is. And awareness exists in consciousness. I think about it from the most just infinite consciousness into a state of intentional awareness that you could call just pure awareness. And then slowly we get closer and closer, and it's I'm aware of this, I'm aware of that. Then there start to become objects. Then we lose the awareness, we become identified as the objects. And on it goes. So it's your true self. Beautiful. The capital S self. Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
This is somewhat opposite to the first question you answered.
No problem.
How do you deal with the guilt of knowing that some of your past actions unknowingly hurt someone? So basically, how do you make peace with your own actions? Because it wasn't that somebody acted on you, it was your own choices you made which unintentionally gave pain to someone.
Yeah, great. And it's not actually the opposite of the forgiveness. It goes hand in hand because the guilt we have, if anyone didn't hear, he was asking, how do you deal with the guilt you have of ways that you've hurt someone? Not ways someone has hurt you, but ways you've hurt someone. Well, you have to forgive yourself. I mean, you didn't wake up in the morning and say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to really ruin that person's day, and maybe I'll even get to ruin their whole life. You didn't plan it like that. You didn't say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hurt them as much as I can. It happened. It happened probably because you were ignorant or in illusion or scared or confused or too busy or stressed or in a rush. These are the things that tend to make us do things or say things that hurt others, which is why, of course, we try to stay conscious and present, aware, connected, not in a rush. So the first thing to do if you feel guilty is see if you can fix it. Is there any way you can fix it? You know, it's one thing to deal with it on a spiritual level, but if on a practical level you can actually do something to fix it, do it. You stole something, give it back with interest. You told a lie, tell the truth. Fix it. There's no time limit. There's no expiration date on apologies. And again, that doesn't mean that the person is going to forgive you. That's going to depend on what state they're in. But in terms of the universe, there's never an expiration date. And if that person is not even alive anymore or is not talking to you and has blocked you in such a way you cannot even communicate with them, just speak it into the universe. Speak it from your soul to their soul. So first, do whatever you actually can, logistically, pragmatically on earth to fix the situation. And along with that, apologize. Because they're two different things. If there's something in addition to an apology that you can do, do it. I'm so sorry I told that lie about you. Well, okay, that's good, but now you better go and tell the truth. Like, it's not enough just to be sorry. I'm so sorry I stole that from you. Well, okay, that's good, but now give it back. If it's possible. So, we need to do whatever we can to actually make not just amends, but reparations. In whatever way we can. And if you can't do it for that person, do it symbolically. Did you, and I'm just going to throw this out as a wild stereotype just so everyone knows, I don't actually know him, so I didn't know what he did, but let's just be wildly stereotypical here, and let's say that as a man, did you do something that harmed a woman in your life in some way? Well, maybe there's no way to make it up to her. Maybe she's no longer talking to you. Maybe she's no longer even here on planet Earth. Well, make reparations in her honor through doing something for women in general. In her name, in her honor. As a parent, did you abuse your child? Well, if it's too late to fix it in that case, can you do something for children in general? Can you do something? And it may simply be making a beautiful donation to some program for orphaned kids or abused kids or whatever it may be. But making reparations is really important because it really helps us and the universe get back into balance. But along with that, we also have to apologize. Because for a lot of people, it would be really easy to just try to fix the situation, but not actually have to go and humble yourself and say you're sorry. And you actually really need to do both. And here's the thing with apologies. If you want the person to accept it, and if you're looking for that person to be back in your life again, we had someone just within the last week who was asking about what to do when he had cheated on his beloved, and he'd gotten drunk, he'd cheated on her, he was now terrified that she was going to leave him. And the thing in cases like this is, in addition to the apology, you've got to make it really clear that A, you realize that this was not just a mistake. It didn't just happen to you. You didn't just somehow accidentally find yourself naked in bed with someone who wasn't your wife. There was something in you that drove you to do it. And if you're not prepared to work with that, to work with the inclination to drink, and to drink so much that you end up doing really stupid things, then that person isn't going to be able to trust you again. So you've got to really show that you are aware that something in you led to this. And it may be something much more innocuous than alcoholism or this. It may be, in the case of, smaller ways that we've hurt people, it may literally just be, I am so sorry. I let myself get so busy or so stressed out that I totally missed the fact that you needed me to be present there. I totally missed that look in your eye that you were really upset and you needed me. I am so sorry, and I'm going to make a commitment from today to slow down. I'm going to make a commitment from today to deal with my stress, or whatever it may be. But it's got to be sincere. And then, that's all the work with that person and the universe. Those are your reparations and amends in the universe. But then you also have to forgive yourself. You've got to find that ability like we find for others. Because holding a grudge against yourself, holding guilt against yourself, also keeps you from being free. And just because something wrong has happened through you also doesn't mean that you don't deserve your birthright of freedom and peace and joy. You may have some karmic fruits coming, and they may not be so pleasant depending on what you did. But we all walk through and work through our karmic packages. But no karmic fruit denies us the birthright of freedom. You may find your freedom while you are in jail serving, a 50-year life sentence for murder. Freedom doesn't necessarily mean that, the court is going to absolve you, but it means that you need to let go of the guilt against yourself. That you need to recognize that that which happened because of ignorance, illusion, fear, confusion, ego, and that it isn't you, and that who you are is divine and pure and whole and complete. And then you make a commitment to try to live as consciously, as presently as you possibly can, so that mistakes like that don't happen through you in the future. But you've got to let it go. You've got to know that, if the universe did not think that you were worthy of occupying your place on planet Earth anymore, you wouldn't be here. So if you're here, you're worthy to be here. And so let go of that part of you that tells you you're not. Great. Other questions? Yeah.
So you talked about how to deal with it when we unintentionally hurt someone.
I'm so sorry, how to deal with?
How to deal with when we unintentionally hurt someone. What if there were points in my life, when I actually felt like I intentionally hurting that person? How to deal with that fear that when I'm being truly myself, I'm actually not good.
Okay. Having an urge to hurt someone out of anger, out of hatred, out of fear, it doesn't mean that you're not a good person. What it means is that you are living in an illusion about who you are. And chances are it means that you've been hurt so much that the self-survival instinct is to hurt back. But you've got to recognize that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Even if the mind was intentional, the mind plotted and planned, okay, I'm gonna, hurt this person. Well, where does that come from? It means you're hurting on the inside. You're only going to hurt someone else if you're hurting on the inside. And that internal hurt that you identified with, that you got stuck with, that you got wrapped up with, that you thought was you, is what led you to act in that way. And this is where you ask yourself, why do I think I am that person? I can tell from looking at your face that you're a beautiful person. A beautiful person. And just because you have thoughts that lead to actions of anger or hatred or jealousy or whatever it may be that leads you to do something, even intentionally, that hurts another. What it just means is that there's ignorance and there's pain and there's hurt and there's false identification. And what you need to do is meditate on that within you which is not those thoughts. Because what you're going to find is a pure, beautiful, holy, divine being who has been hurt. And who in her hurt, it's what she knows. I always say, the air conditioner can only give us cold air. It's not its fault, it's all it has. And if all we've got is hurt and fear and anger from what's happened to us, then that's all we can give to the world. But that isn't you. It's just that's what's been fed into you. It's like if you ate something bad, right? And you end up vomiting all night long. Well, it's not that you're a bad person. It's that something has gone inside that is toxic, and therefore it's coming out every orifice. But it's not that who you are as a being is toxic and wrong and bad. It's that something has gone in that's hurt. And that's therefore what you are sharing with the world. And what that means is that you need to really, really meditate on who you are, which is pure and divine and beautiful and love. As they sort out the electricity thing, so you need to really, really recognize that that's the truth of who you are. And meditate on it. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? You're not what's happened to you. You're not the ignorance or illusion or fear or anger or hurt. You are the divine being. And it just means you have to peel back the layers of not self to experience the self. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, last question. Yeah, come. No problem. Yes. So asking for help should be theoretically the easiest thing for us. As babies, we have no problem doing it. Right? We don't get what we want. What do? We scream. There's no baby who's like, yeah, well, I mean, if you feel like feeding me, that would be great if you've got some time. It's, ah! We're great at asking what we need. And we're great at demanding it. I mean, not only do we ask, but there's absolutely a sense of I am entitled. Feed me. Change my diaper. Put me to bed. Make me warm. And even more than that, hold me and love me. Right? That's the, Kid is fed. Diapers are dry. But what do they want? Pick me up. Hold me and love me. So we're even able to demand being loved. It's beautiful. That is the state that we need to actually remember. We deserve, that is our birthright, to be loved, to be cared for, to be nourished, to be nurtured. We don't ask for two main reasons. Number one, we're afraid they will say no. It's a lot easier not to ask than to ask and risk that someone will say no. And the solution to that, or the way around that, or through that, is to realize that someone else saying no does not change how much you deserve it. A parent who neglects their child does not mean that the child is any less worthy. If a child screams to be fed and the parent ignores them, that's what we call child abuse. It's not that the child is less deserving than a child whose mother feeds her. It's that the mother in the first case is damaged in some way, either mentally, emotionally, psychologically, lifestyle-wise, maybe literally she has nothing there on the streets. She wants to feed the kid, she can't. But the point is, it is a problem of the mother, not a problem of the child. It is a fault of the mother, not a fault of the child. And so we overcome that fear of asking because we realize even if they say no, that doesn't mean that I deserve it less. It just means there is a problem with that person. Again, either emotionally, mentally, psychologically, or just that they are unable to give what I want, what I need. The other reason we don't ask is because on some deep level we don't feel like we deserve. That somehow we are less deserving of the bounty of the universe. And it's a really fine line because on a material level, we all come into this world with different karmic packages, different opportunities, different abilities, different situations, different circumstances. On a theoretical level and a theological level, everyone is equally deserving, of course. And yet, due to karmic circumstance, due to situation, some of which is due to our own karma, some of which is just due to the criminal ways that so many paths of distribution of food, of resources happen in our world, we end up not all having. But that doesn't mean that we don't all deserve. And it's really important to work with an energy in you if you feel like you don't deserve. Because you deserve everything. On a deep level. Doesn't mean you deserve someone else's house or their car and that, you demand it till they give it to you. But it means that you deserve all of that which is beautiful in the world. You deserve the opportunity, the spaciousness, to blossom, to flower, to experience the divine in you, to get closer and closer to God. You deserve love. You deserve acceptance. You deserve your own individual ability to accept this incredible invitation that the universe has given all of us. And so ask. And if there's a part of you that feels like you don't deserve, work with that part. Why don't I feel like I deserve? Who did I hear it from? When did I hear it? How did that get inside me? And then, of course, you realize, oh, I heard it from someone who was troubled. Might have been a parent, might have been a teacher, might have been a sibling, might have been someone who themselves was troubled and took it out on me. But that doesn't make it truth. And that's really important to realize, because we all move through the world with false beliefs about ourself and about our worthiness based on things that we were told or experienced mostly when we were young, mostly by family of origin or teachers or something in those early years that makes us feel somehow less than. And it's so important to be able to look back and to say, oh yeah, here's what was going on for my mom at that time, for my dad at that time, for my teacher, for my whatever it was. Here's why they were not able to give me the messages that really were right, that I really needed to hear. And then you forgive them. But you don't continue to live according to what they told you. If you're my kid and I'm stressed and miserable and drunk and furious at something, and I say to you, you are a worthless piece of junk. Well, that doesn't mean you are. That means I get an F in parenting. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything about you. Tragically, you are probably going to take that inside as a child. But then when you age and you grow and you mature, you're able to look back and say, oh yeah, my God, my mother was drunk and angry and really struggling at that time. I know she didn't really mean it. It just came out. She didn't mean it. And it's really not true. And that's when we start to heal and to move on. And so practicing asking is a beautiful practice. And yeah, you might get hurt sometimes. But it's a beautiful practice. Because all of those metaphoric bruises that we get in the vulnerability practice end up actually building muscle within us of self-worth, of self-awareness, of self-acceptance, of self-expansion and expression and realization. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Beautiful. You have a homework assignment. Before you even leave from satsang when we end, but before you leave, you have to ask someone for something. Okay? It can be anyone here, it can be anything. But you have to ask someone for something. Okay? Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. I look so forward to being together again tomorrow. And so much love to you all.